How you doing? This is Terry from the Pew, podcasting with Terry. This evening, I'm just talk about in this broadcast uh, eugenics and how eugenics justify discrimination and injustice. And I'm gonna start off with a quick video, real quick, just to get your attention. Okay, here's the video.
Contraception, abortion, while demonstrating a visceral hatred for children, parenthood, marriage, and the Catholic Church. The following quotes are directly from Margaret Sanger's own writings and interviews. 1. The most merciful thing that the large family does to one of its infant members is to kill it. 2. A marriage license shall in itself give husband and wife only the right to a common household and not the right of parenthood. 3. All of our problems are the result of overbreeding among the working class. Knowledge of birth control is essentially moral. Its general, though prudent, practice must lead to a higher individuality and ultimately to a cleaner race. 4. Blacks, soldiers, and Jews are a menace to the human race. 5. The masses of Negroes, particularly in the South, still breed carelessly and disastrously, with the result that the increase among Negroes, even more than among whites, is from that portion of the population least intelligent and fit. 6. Birth control appeals to the advanced radical because it is calculated to undermine the authority of the Christian churches. I look forward to seeing humanity free someday of the tyranny of Christianity, no less than capitalism. 7. Every single case of inherited defect, every malformed child, every congenitally tainted human being brought into this world is of infinite importance to that poor individual. But it is scarcely less important to the rest of us and to all of our children who must pay in one way or another for these biological and racial mistakes. 8. It now remains for the United States government to set a sensible example to the world by offering a bonus or a yearly pension to all obviously unfit parents who allow themselves to be sterilized by harmless and scientific means. Margaret Sanger, the woman heralded by the Democrats and left-wing ideologues in the United States for her positions on women's reproductive rights, always failed to include her genocidal positions on ethnic cleansing.
So you heard that. Margaret Sanger. She's the founder of the Planned Parenthood. Also, she's she's a founder of what it was called the Negro Project. And as you can see right there in this video, the creator of that video went back and read, and I read her book too. And I knew all these things, and it's in writing. This is not no doubt. And I believe New York State at one time, I don't know, a while back, deemed her a racist. And so she had some racist idea. Now, these ideas right here were normal earlier part of the 19th century, okay, or the 20th century, excuse me, 19th to the 20th century. And so let's find a definition of eugenics real quick. All right, so let's find the definition of eugenics. Okay, Eugenics. All right, let's look at it here. That's a picture of Francis Galton. He was one of the big pushers of eugenics, and when he died, he actually left money for the study and the research of eugenics. He was a cousin of Darwin, and he was motivated by Darwin's ideas. Okay, so what we call social Darwinism. Eugenics, the selection of desirable heritable characteristics in order to improve future generations, typically in reference to humans. The term genetics was coined in 1883 by British explorers and natural scientist Francis Galton, who was influenced by Charles Darwin's theory of natural selection, advocated a system that would allow the more suitable races or strains of blood a better chance to prevailing speedily over the less suitable. You hear that? So that's what eugenics is all about. Selection of the pure, their idea of the pure. And in most cases, well, not in most cases, in all cases, blonde hair, blue eyes. This was their idea. You had that more Nordic look, then that's what you were. That's what you're bred. That's what eugenics was all about. So us darker, any darker skinned people with these darker skin and these brown eyes and all that, we were inferior in their eyes. We're inferior, okay? So a lot of us, these darker featured people, were inferior. As you've seen in a quick video, Margaret Sanger even talked about blacks. And it's real amazing when you think about some of the people that were also co-signers of eugenics. How many of y'all know W.E. Du Bois? W.E.B. Du Bois? Yeah, one of the founders of NAACP. The author of Souls of Black Folks believed in eugenics. He believed in the separation of Black people by culture, by intelligence. Those were the only ones that should have babies. W.E.B. Du Bois believed that. And now I wonder why the NAACP is all in chaos right now. Y'all know this last election in Virginia, they say they don't support any candidates, but they didn't invite the Black lady with the Black husband with the Black children to their convention. But they invited the white lady with the white children to the convention. I really don't care. It's not a race thing. I'm just saying how they deceive the masses. All these people out here, they don't tell you all this stuff that's going on here. Question. And I'm really talking about eugenics, but eugenics led to Planned Parenthood. It led to abortion in America. Now, I know abortion is only legal in certain states, but just think about this for a second. Think about the root of it, right? It came from eugenics. They didn't want you to have babies because you're inferior. Why do y'all think? I'm just saying. African-American women make up 13% of the American population, but make up twice the percentage of abortions. Get out of here, at least 26%. Some years it's been 30%, some years as high as 35%, and it even has been as high as 40%. You could do your research. You don't have to believe me. I'm telling you fact. This is a fact. When they started the Planned Parenthood, they put all the clinics in the Black neighborhoods. I'm just talking about eugenics now. And I'm talking about the dangers of eugenics. What happened? There was a race singled out. That's dangerous. Most people don't tell you this. But yet, this is where we go for, well, Terry, some of us shouldn't have babies. Well, let's be real. Men, you should have kept in your pants, and ladies, you should have opened up your legs. That's just how it works. Okay? You have these unscheduled pregnancies, and then you turn around and have abortion. Well, what about those who get raped? Y'all know that percentage is way off the chart. It's less than 1%. 99 point whatever of abortions are happen because you have these unscheduled pregnancies, and then you just feel you're not ready to have a kid. That's where it all comes from. That's what it is. But eugenics is a plague on our culture, and it's still in play in 2025. Still in play. What do you mean it's in play? Well, look at it. Look at some of our social programs here, right? Look at some of our social programs. And let me get back to what eugenics is. And I'm going to come back to that. I'm trying not to hold y'all long. I'm looking at it. I'm looking to everything here, okay? So so let's go back here. All right. By World War I, many scientific authorities and political leaders supported eugenics. However, it ultimately failed as a science in the 1930s and 40s when the assumptions of eugenicists became heavily criticized, and the Nazis used eugenics to support the extermination of entire races. Yeah, the Nazis. Remember y'all called Donald Trump a Nazi? Remember some of the people called Donald Trump a Nazi? And the Nazis were eugenicists. When you here I go. When you're pro-abortion, your root is eugenics. That's your root. A tree is only as strong as its root. Where did eugenics and all this come from? Who was the founder? Margaret Sanger. What was she? She was eugenist. Negro Project. This is fact. This is not something I made up. It's fact. They just don't tell you about it, you know? Moving on. Let's move it on. But it goes way back before that. I don't know if I mentioned this, but Plato, who was a Greek philosopher, who also, the term eugenist wasn't back in Greek society, back in what we call antiquities, but Plato believed that that the state should govern births. You know, Plato, if you don't know who Plato is, he was a student of Socrates and he was a teacher of Aristotle. So he's a famous Greek philosopher. He believed in that. So it goes way back the whole ideal of it, okay? And then, of course, we had Galton, the cousin, who came along and hereditary genius, 1869, proposed a system of arranged marriages between men of distinction and women of wealth would eventually produce a gifted race. So if you had money, you were gifted. You see what I'm saying? Think about in certain societies on the planet, they do that. They marry according to what your wealth is. That goes on in certain societies right here in 2025, certain countries, even kind of in America. That's all this idea that one race or one set of people are more superior than the other set of people. That's what that is all about. And it still goes on. It's an injustice being on people, and we don't even have an idea it's going on because nobody's talking about it. Nobody with any authority. Why the NAACP don't talk about it? Why don't they talk about it? You want to hear them talking about abortion? Name a black politician that talked about abortion in the black community. Name one. You can't. None of them. They won't talk about the numbers. Why? Now, I talk about it. I remember I talked to a gentleman about this a while back. He got mad at me and was basically insinuating I was a sellout. A sellout? Why is Black Lives Matter only when the police is involved? When you're in a city and a black person loses their life, it doesn't matter. When a baby's aborted or a fetus, that's a trick word, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Do y'all remember, I used this before, in the movie Batman, The Dark Knight, the Joker said a lot of crazy stuff. One of the things he said, he was talking, he said, when a soldier's killed, nobody cares because it's part of the plan. When a gangbanger's killed, nobody cares because it's part of the plan. But I killed one little mayor and the world loses its mind. Y'all remember that? It was a silly thing, but think about what he was saying. We value certain lives and we devalue certain other lives. That's what we do. That is from eugenics. We value certain lives and we devalue other lives. The person in the ghetto getting shot up, we don't care about them. You know, but all this comes from this whole idea, this mentality of eugenics. It created great injustice in our society where we don't value all lives. We don't value lives. We just don't. This fundamental knowledge of heredity provided eugenicists, including Galton, who influenced his cousin Charles Darwin with scientific evidence to support the improvement of humans through selective breeding, right? Selective breeding. This is what they believe in. All right. So that goes all the way into that, right? During the early 1900s, eugenics became a serious scientific study pursued by both biologists and social scientists. They sought to determine the extent to which human characteristics of social importance were inherited. So they studied that. They were studying that. Part of the reason Hitler was cutting people open, or his doctors were cutting people open. Yeah, what they were doing. They were eugenicists. This is what they were doing. Among the greatest concerns were the predictability of intelligence and certain deviant behaviors. Eugenics, however, was not confined to scientific laboratories and academic institution. It began to pervade cultural thought around the globe, including the Scandinavian countries, most other European countries, North America, Latin America, Japan, China, Russia, and the United States. The eugenics movements began during the progressive age and remained active and gained. Look at this. Oh, I went too far. It gained considerable support from legal and scientific authorities such as zoologist Charles B. Davenport, plant geneticist Edward M. East, Nobel Prize laureate Herman Miller, political leaders Theodore Roosevelt, Secretary of State Eli Root, Associate Justice John Marshall Harlan. So all these had a lot of influence in there. Okay, all these people were influenced by that. That one race was superior to the other. They all were interested in that. Let's look at something else. Let's look at some of the famous people that were into the eugenics movement. Share screen. Let's see. Share. All right, let's look at that. Alexander Graham Bell. Y'all remember him? Famous inventor telephone. Helen Keller. Winston Churchill. Margaret Sanger. Of course, you know she's going to be in there. W.E.B. Du Bois. I mentioned that. Look what it says about W.E.B. Du Bois. Harvard-educated sociologist W.E.B. Du Bois was a leading African-American activist and writer who called for the dividing the Black community into 4 groups. He promoted marriage and reproduction within the most desirable group, the talented 10th, and wanted to breed out the lowest group, the submerged 10th. Yeah, W.E.B. Du Bois. That's right, W.E.B. Du Bois. But that's the most. Charles Darwin, he's an attorney. Charles Bernard Shaw, writer. Oliver Wendell Holmes, he was another Supreme Court justice. Jacques Cousteau, he was the French biologist, and so on and so forth. You have all these different people, right, that believed in the eugenics movement. These are intelligent people. People are renowned, but they believed in it. The one that gets me is W.E.B. Du Bois. Here's I don't think I mentioned this, but what happened was when Helen Keller came up with the Negro Project, one of the people she went to was W.E.B. Du Bois. When she was talking to W.E.B. Du Bois, she was able to have W.E.B. Du Bois to talk to some Black religious leader across the nation and sell an idea of Planned Parenthood, right? Or abortion. Basically, that's what happened. Yeah, that's what happened. And it took its roots in what we call a Black church. I'm just saying, took its roots in there. Sure did. Bible, again, I got a Christian worldview. Bible, Jesus said he came to bring life and bring life more abundantly. That's what he said. He came to bring life, bring it more abundantly, not death. Book of Genesis, 2nd, 3rd chapter. Be fruitful and multiply. So there's text all over, all about this, being fruitful, multiplying, being life givers and all this kind of stuff. But the Genesis movement came about, and it is very destructive on so many fronts. So many fronts. So many fronts. What kind of lessons can we learn? What kind of lessons can we learn? One, do your research. You should always research everything, especially in today's times. You cannot sit back and take things for granted and believe anything. You got to research stuff. And forget this stuff they call misinformed or misinformation. Get your information. All the information I got on there. You see, I pulled up. I had 4 different. I had too much information on this stuff. Too much. This is not something I'm making up. It's just what it is. But they don't tell us this. You don't learn this in school. Why? Why? Think about it. My Black listeners, think about it. What else have they told you that wasn't quite right? Huh? I'm about done. Think about the 3-carb Molly. Y'all familiar with 3-carb Molly? Or the shell game? You know, 3-carb Molly, the whole purpose of it is you got to, 3-card model, you got to find the right card. Shell game, you got to find the P. And they be moving that stuff around, and for you to, and you got to find it, and you bet on which one it is, right? Now, y'all know that whole thing is a scam, right? It's a scam. Typically what they do is they go downtown, 3-card Molly, shell game. They set up a little table somewhere downtown. Typically it's 2 or 3 players in it that get you involved. So they'll set up their little game. One guy set up the table, one will be on one corner, the other be on another corner. And then all of a sudden he walks across the corner. When he sees a crowd comes there, he starts betting with them. He's trying to set you up. You run over there and you watching, he wins. He wins, he loses, you know. And then you look, oh, wow, I can win at this, you know, because you're watching, right? As you're doing a crowd building around this, then the other guy walks around. He jumps in it. Pretty soon, people in the crowd jump in it. Those people are skilled at the 3-card Molly and shell game. You're gonna win the card. You're gonna win when they want you to win, and you're gonna lose when they want you to lose. The other two, one or other two, they're gonna win on occasion. They lose just to make it interesting. They be running the shell game and 3-card Molly on us sometimes as citizens. You got to pay attention to what's going on. That whole eugenics move is about the elitists want to only create other elite people. Don't get me wrong. I get what they're saying. They thought it would better our society. But in turn, what you did, you went after particular races, a particular set of people, a demographic, poor people. And you talked them into or led them to being terminating pregnancies. Again, you can make your choice. I'm not against people making their choice because I got my own choices I'm going to make. My choice is just not your choice. Okay? Please like, share, subscribe to this segment, this broadcast, so I can get better content out and provide more within my content. Love you. God bless you.